Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day.
Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Colin Smith Brooks. I know this episode is basically going to be talking about this thing that I guess many people have always talked about, and now that I'm in recall, I'm in the ring now. Like I have, I guess, my opinion. It I'm no professional in this place, but I guess you listening to this isn't a professional either, you say what the average man opinion on it. Yes, this is the best place to come. Yeah, so basically this episode is going to be renting versus owning a place. And I'm in the ring now, and it's like I can't really back out. Yeah, but my opinion, because I've rented, I've been at a place where I have to pay rent, and when I was at doing university, I was on a dorm where I pay semesterly, you know, and so that's kind of also like a rent. The only thing is I basically never had to pay light or anything like that. And now I'm here and an unofficial homeowner. And my basic thing that I can say is, should you rent or own? I say every person listening to this, one of your goals is should be to own a place. It should be. It's one of those things that it's part of the road to freedom, because I guess many people don't want to talk about this, but I guess in back in the days of slavery, the difference between a slave and a master was basically the master owned a plantation, which was basically land. That was basically the difference between a slave and a master. And owning a place is your first step to becoming a master of your own life. So owning is a basic is a easy yes to say yes. You should actually try to own a place. No, saying that is which comes to the next thing back in using the slavery analogy. Why, if you look at it, why they were, if you were to count it up, there will be a minority of masters and a more majority of slaves. Is that because owning a land comes with responsibility? Becoming a master of your own life, becoming a responsibility, and me being in the ring now, basically, you know, in the ring now is own a home is a full-time job. You can't get. My thinking is, I'm not in deep yet, but my thinking is it can get easier over time. That's my thinking. But but it will also get harder over time. But I think I'll be able to manage it more. But yeah, I guess going later on. But having your own place is allows you to get yourself, is the first one, would be, as I said, one of the first things to basically being a master of your own life and road to freedom. because regardless if you are a slave or not, if born a mass, oh, you know, in the modern world now, we are all a slave for something. We are all a slave for something. So regardless or not, we're on this road to freedom. you know, and it's one of those things you have to learn. If one is one in this modern day, if one person is a slave, we're all a slave because in the bad habits that one is doing is basically preventing the progress of many. One person's bad habit is the basically moving back of the human race. But back to renting versus owning. So I'll say so owning in my opinion, long term, especially which I guess majority of people want to do, start a family. Owning it is one of the best thing to do. And rent and to keep it short, to keep the thing short. Renting long term, like if so you leave university at say 2021 and then you rent from 21 straight up to 75 years old. If you actually look back at that, yeah, I think many people would have a lot of remote regrets in not owning that place if you basically went from 21 to 75 and not actually look for a way to actually own a place. Well, also on the other side, you have many people from that 21 to 75 that may actually go out and own a place and actually lose a place, like for example the 2008 housing crisis, and end up worse and basically spend majority or maybe the rest of their life homeless. As I say, own a place is a risk. You basically the price of freedom is a high cost. The price of freedom is a high cost. So while owning is, my opinion, the better option, it's not, you have to actually work for it. Right now, this home thing, it I've reached this far partly because of a family support. It's not me out here making a way. It's a family support, which is one of the next thing to wealth building and such like that. You need a support group, a family, generational wealth or something like that. Building that wealth for yourself is maybe impossible, or I won't say impossible because anything is possible. It may be not worthwhile. It may be, and if you're doing it only for yourself, it's, I guess you'll be doing way more work than you need to for yourself. Because if you're a single person, you don't really need that much to basically survive. You just need a basic stuff. But many of us eventually maybe look into getting a family or whatnot. Owning is an essential step because not even if you aren't benefit, you have to pay the price of freedom to basically own the place. Actually, owning a place is better for your children or wife or whatever you leave it for their future. That's the important thing. That's one of the points towards owning. The next thing, I had a point and it just slipped out of my head. One of the next thing is, I guess, what I was saying was that renting, the modern time now, 2022, the whole world housing market is stuck towards renting due to though jobs being in the city where there is less home and more like apartments and such like that. So if you want to do a job opportunity, more like you have to rent a place there, so you be close to the job place and such like that. So majority, that's why many of the more conventional speaking, they said okay, rent, and then you have some people that said rent where you own and own where you rent. That if you're going to actually buy a place, you actually rent it out and such like that. But to me, as a person, as the average man, that would like to want to be free, or live the free life, owning where you live is an essential step for that. And the difference between the next difference between owning and renting is owning is harder and riskier, but it's more long term compared to renting, which is easy and more instantaneous, but long term, and is a short term solution, which will not help you long term. And I guess the best way to basically compare that is like learning how to cook versus buying fast food or going to restaurant or whatever. Learning to cook it actually takes time to invest the time to actually learn how to do that, and and you have to eat a lot of bad food. You have to spend money to get the ingredients. It takes time. It's like going to school. You're paying money to go to school, learn some subjects, and then you go to university and you pay tuition and whatnot. And then you come up with this piece of paper. And this piece of paper is kind of worthless in too many people's eyes, but it's up to you to basically take all that knowledge that you have went through school and try to find a way to actually make it apply to you, and make a profit or something monetarily from those 21 years or how many years of education. And unlike, for example, fast food, they have the restaurant there, so all they just do is just have the money. You simply go to the restaurant, you wait in line, and then you just pay, and then boom, you get the food. But what happened is between the cooking and the restaurant, with the cooking, you have cooking go back to having a family or whatnot. Cooking is a more healthier and more stable way and sustainable way to give your body nutrients, unlike the fast food way, which relies on you getting an income. Always, you have to have a job to sustain yourself by fast food because you have to pay money. So you have to have a job to have that. And it's the same thing with the rent. Every month you basically have to pay someone. You have to pay someone the rent. Maybe you have to pay for internet, light, whatnot, So if you are renting, more likely you have to have a job to do that, But the thing with a home is a home can be a family investment where multiple people or multiple family members say, okay, we're putting money on this house to actually turn it into a future long-term profitable investment, So next thing basically is the difference between owning a home or renting a place is the land. That's one of the things that I realize now, the land. That's one of the things that I never had before going all these other places. The land to actually use. So when when you own a place or own a home or whatnot, the home is good and all, but that's not really the selling point. It's the land that you have. Because if it's a fertile land, can grow homegrown food or whatnot, which can really subsidize your cost of living. Because one of the things that I think, I'm not sure, is that I think that the land tax is constant. I think you may pay the same every year, or if it's raised, it's a constant. It's just a one-time payment, boom. But when you have the land, the food is throughout the year. If you actually plant the right things and plant them the right way, the food is throughout the year. So that's basically you subsidizing part of the cost, while we should all be working towards having a monetizable skill to basically come in and make an income and whatnot. Because while people may like it or not, we live in a capitalistic society where we have to actually make ourselves able to be we are monetizing ourselves. We have to actually can do something that can actually make money, and that's basically one step towards freedom. The next thing about renting versus owning is that owning a place is you have the ability to basically build make it be what you want it to be. Renting, there's a certain limitation that you can't go beyond. Owning, you have more freedom to do more. As for example, the place that I'm now, I have more land space. Clean up the backyard, give me a lot more space than I actually would ever need, but it gives me more opportunities. So things are being planted in the backyard, and recently I harvested 2 pumpkins. No, more than 2. I like 4 or such like that pumpkins. That is, buying that that's basically me harvesting that has saved me over like maybe over $8,000 or $10,000, which if I do that over, plant more crops or whatever, that basically can subsidize the land tax, for basically just me having one month worth of food planted and subsidizing my need to go to the market. You basically subsidize your land tax, so the income that you go that you would go out and actually go make money to actually pay for that. You basically say, okay, the money that I'm getting now is actually going towards that. Or you can actually sell the produce that you actually grow on the land. Renting, you less likely have that ability, because more than likely it's an apartment, and such like that. So yeah, there's a limited opportunities you have with renting. Renting, when you're renting, you basically will be like, boom, you are paying, it's like a Netflix subscription. You're basically paying monthly to watch all the movies that you want, and at the end of the month, if you don't pay it, you basically have no access to movies. So, but that's like renting. If you going and say, okay, I'm going to rent a place. So boom, you rent the place, you have access to everything. So like a home and a renting place, you have the bedroom, you have the bathroom, the kitchen, the basic necessities that you would need. But with a home, with a place where you rent, if the end of the month come and you don't pay your rent, all those commodities just simply go away. So that is that's basically my initial thing that kind of made me say own more than rent. But the I guess the throughout this whole rambling, the main thing that I want to get is that owning is better, no matter how the market may say, okay, rent it's a good time to rent or whatever. Owning land is one of the best things to do. It's higher responsibility. It's it's a long term. It's good long term. It's good long term, but yeah, it's harder and riskier. But the payoff, I think, will be worth it. But I'm saying this now early in the game, Hopefully, if I make it to 2024, I'm still here. If I make it to 2024 and I'm still here, I will be in a better position. And that's one of the kind of benefit, the other benefit about owning. When you're owning, you're in the game now. It's go time. It's similar with renting, but the thing about renting is that when you pay the month, you say, okay, you're doing well, and you're paying the rent and such like that. The next year, you nothing change. You're basically still a renter. You don't own the place. With the owning, if you're in the game, you're in the game, and if you make it into it the next year, you said, okay, what have I learned last year about own a place? And I said, okay, boom, that and that. Will it be hard? And then you have a general idea to say, okay, will this year be harder? I can say yes or no. But with that knowledge, you can go in with a mental ability to say, boom, okay, you're more prepared the next year. And each year you're having more equity toward in the land, or such like that. And I think maybe I'm not sure. This can be a more marketable place because lots of people don't own a place. So I've been in a place for 1 year successfully. Can say yeah, put it on the resume and say yo, I've successfully stayed in a place that I've owned for 1 year. I did my thing. But yeah, owning is always better. But in the real world, people choose the easy road more less than the hard road. And the hard road is pretty hard, but yo, when you actually make it out of that hard road and the benefit comes, it's worth it, bro. It's worth it. And that's the reason why owning a lot of people don't own a place, but if you own it, you in the long term, you'll benefit, man. You'll be worth your while. So this is a very long rambling. I guess nothing nothing came out of it. There's nothing benefit for you. I guess I have 7 minutes, so I'll try to make it some benefit for you. So the best thing I can say is that if you have reached this far, when you own a place, one of the hardest things is that right now, boom, taxes. That's unavoidable when you own a place. So that's one of the things that I've going and said, okay, yeah, you have to actually do that. So that's one of the first things. The next thing, bills, is a constant. And then not only that, if you're owning it with more than one people, higher bills, So that's the downside. The more people that you have in the place, the higher the bills. But the good thing is, if you buy the right place, you have a lot of land space to use for many things. For many things. And if you're buying a place, but it's supposed to have land. I guess that's the thing in America why people say renting, because many of the places that they're buying and such like that, they don't have any land space to actually do any planting and such like that. So it's basically buying nothing. It makes sense to rent in those cases, but if you're buying the land, that's the best. That's the I guess the best thing to actually look for. So this is my rookie opinion on it now. I won't do an next episode on it, because the thing about it is that the episode prior to this one kind of prepares you for owning a place, because that's what the Frame Mindset podcast is basically about. It's getting your mindset into tackling what you're about to tackle. So if you actually listen to all the episodes before, or listen to a few episodes before, you'll get the idea of the mindset that you have to be in to actually own a place, so that when you're in the position, you're not really stressed out or anything. They just know that, okay, this is more responsibility now, more and then you are better able to actually calculate how much pressure is this going to take. Can I and what would I need to actually mitigate this pressure? And that's basically the important thing about the Reframe Mindset podcast. So get your mind from your trainer mind, in your ability to actually deal with the responsibility, to assess the amount of responsibility it would take. Then no matter if you're owning or renting or whatever it be, you're able to navigate it easy. That's basically the main thing about the Frame Mindset podcast, So yeah, thank you for listening, and look forward for the next episode. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/CSSB/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter @ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
Since I've been doing this, backyard cleaning and such like that, it's that, and we made some progress, some significant progress recently. But it's time to go back to the past again. Yeah, man. Talk about the first job I've ever had. Well, the first job where I actually got paid. Mm-hmm. So to do this now, you have to just go back to when I was young. Those times my mother was working in a shop, and then I would just go out there. I would either be out there, or I think it was in the summer, so I was out there not doing my thing. You try just doing any random thing, or sometimes I would have some